All right, so Yu-Gi-Oh cubes. First off, like, what is a cube? It's basically like Battle Pack tried to do this with like sealed, but it's a thing that they do in Magic where you can kind of build your own like set and have packs to be able to draft from. You can get together 4 to 8 people, at least that's what my cube is built for, and you can put together a set of cards that like are made to be interacted with together. Mine is, I call it the history draft, and it's basically like Tengu plans and Goat format and Edison format all kind of put together into one deck. There's some archetype stuff, some not. So we have a lot of cool stuff going on in Cube, and not many people in Yu-Gi-Oh! Do cubes for some reason. Silverstorm Gaming was a huge inspiration on cubes for me for Yu-Gi-Oh! Most cubes that I see are singleton, meaning like you only run one card. So like, you know, Deep Sea Diva searches nothing, and Reborn Tengu doesn't summon anything else, and Gravekeeper Spy can't summon another spy for cool combos and stuff like we remember. And the idea, at least for my cube, was very similar, like I said, inspired really by Silverstorm Gaming's cube, to just kind of reminisce about all these different cool interactions in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where, you know, in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! You can't use a Destiny Hero Malicious or a Gravekeeper Spy, they're too slow. Like, Gale isn't broken anymore and worth being put to 1. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, I don't want to spend too much time on what's actually like card-wise in my cube. I can link to you guys or put it in the description, you know, a list of my cube. But really what I want to talk about is just organization and personalization of a cube. So many times I see cubes and they're just kind of in a random deck box or series of deck boxes, and there's not a lot of organization, and I'm really about trying to keep stuff organized and have it be as presentable as possible, especially when you're doing a cube, because I can't do a cube myself. So if it's unorganized, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, with a deck box or whatever, right? As long as it's organized when you show up at the shop, you're good. But with a cube, you want the other people's experience to be good. You worked really hard on this thing, and you want people to actually like take appreciation of that and enjoy what you're doing. So I just kind of wanted to get into my cube. So to start off, it's in Dex Protection Game Chest, kind of modified a little bit, but I do have these two little deck box things that came with it. So inside, you'll see there's a lot of red, and we'll get to that later. But this thing is just super compact. I have my cube made for 4 to 8 people, and I find that that's, you know, about the range of people I'm playing with. I don't really plan on making a 16, 20 person cube actually happen. So this is a perfect size for that. I have one slot over here for tokens, and then on this side here, and let me go ahead and pull this out. I have, this is just like an insert for any of those double deck boxes. You know, they have the 2 little inserts in it. And inside that, I put my extra deck. And so in my cube, I have a shared extra deck. I think that that's a really cool idea for a cube. So, you know, in the fusions, right, I have, you know, all of the Omni heroes, right? Stratos, Ascuradao, Great Tornado, Ab-Zero. And there's obviously Miracle Fusions and Super Polys in there. And in the Synchros, I have, you know, 4 or 5 level 5s, 4 or 5 level 6s, 4 or 5 level 7s. I think it's a cool idea in the cube to have a shared extra deck, especially since we do, you know, 4 to 8 man cubes. So when I have like Fusions, Synchros, extra deck cards in general, right, it's really, it adds to the like randomization, and it adds to the like on the fly, I gotta do something. That's kind of what drafting is, right? Is like, oh, I was building Lightsworn, but I noticed that the Judgment Dragon didn't come back around, so I have to kind of anticipate what I might get and what I might not get, and kind of you know, react to that. It's a very reactive thing, a cube and drafting and stuff, and so I wanted to kind of fit that into the extra deck as well. A lot of people draft the extra deck as well, or throw that into the draft, and I think having to build a regular deck while also having to make sure you have enough good extra deck cards to make with your Synchros, Exceeds, Fusions, whatever, just seems like a lot. It's very daunting. Whereas if you can just kind of learn what the extra deck monsters are, you know, if, you know, hey, I can sync for a 6 or an 8, and Brio would be my best bet, but I look in the extra deck and Brio's not there anymore, so I'm actually going to sync her for an 8 now. Or, you know, kind of almost having to pay attention to, like, you know, if there's 4 people, I notice over here that, like, oh, you know, my friend Trishula and my other friends, so, like, I was going to go for a Trishula play, but either now I need to, you know, go for Mistworm instead, and that's way worse, or can I, you know, make a backup play, make a Catastrophe and sit on that, or maybe, you know, negate a attack, you know, mirror force them till next turn when their game's over, and then I can use the Trish. I think stuff like that is super cool. So I have the entire extra deck for my cube in here, and the rest of it fits here in the rest of the container. It's felt lined, so it's super cool. Even if I didn't have these things in here, the cards, this is what I had before. The cards fit really well. I suggest using sleeves that you can buy in bulk for cheap. Was using Ultra Pro for the longest time. My next switch up, I think I'm going to switch to Titan Shield. We might do a video on the sleeves later, but you know, you're going to be shuffling a lot, so it kind of makes a big difference if you're spending hundreds of dollars on sleeves. Next, we'll actually get into like what's in the cube, like the actual like packs themselves. Originally, we were kind of doing like, you know, shuffle all of it, you know, spend 20 minutes doing that, and then kind of pick stacks of 20 or 10 or whatever and draft that out. But I think the problem that you get there is that it like lessens the drafting experience, right? When you are drafting 20 random cards, you could get 3 Dark Arms and 2 BLS and a Chaos Emperor, and the person next to you gets like, you know, a bunch of Smashing Grounds and bottomless triples, right? So I really wanted to try to find a way to organize it and just kind of let the drafting experience be more fun than shuffle a crap load of cards and then like mix stacks of 20 all over the place. So I got these Dragon Shield cube shells. These things are really cool. They kind of emulate a pack, right? And I use one for tokens for the cube here, and obviously have it labeled as such. And I don't think they make these bright colors anymore. They kind of make them more like muted whatever colors, which I wish they had when I got them. And so, you know, you open it up and you've got packs in here. And so what I did was we actually incorporate skills into our cube. So the top card is a skill, always in a pack, or I guess the bottom, depending on which way you're looking at it. And then I have my cube organized, instead of singleton, as we talked about earlier, into multiple. So just like a real pack, I kind of have it organized so that the farther you go into the pack, the cooler stuff you're going to see. So here, like, for example, in this pack, right, we have our random skill card, which you may or may not use in the cube. And then we go through our pack here. And see, right now, the first few cards are cards that there's a bunch of, right? You know, Reborn Tengu summons in the Reborn Tengu, and with Hamster, you need Raikos, and a lot of decks, obviously, as we know in Edison, run Raiko, right? So Tengu and Raikou are our first 2 cards in the pack, and there's like 6 of these, 8 of these, I don't even remember at this point. There's more than 3 in the cube, just because they interact so well with so many different things. Then you start getting into another important aspect, which can get expensive, and there's some that I have dodged on this, but having holo cards, when you build a cube with random stuff, and I totally understand saving money, but when you build a cube with different rarities in it, it's hard for people who are just getting into it to understand what's a card worth taking, right? Like, what's a card that, like, when I read, you know, Raikou, that I understand that this is a more common card and less of a cool card than, you know, something like Machina Fortress or, you know, Master Hyperion, right? So I try to get holo cards of one-ofs in the cube, and I try to also get foil holo versions of boss monsters. So like when you see a holo Master Hyperion, right, you know that like this is a card that is a big boss monster that I really need to pay attention to, right? So if we go through, we've got Master Hyperion, got Machina Fortress, Armageddon Knight, Mizuki. See, we're seeing a lot of like synergistic stuff even in our pack here. Phoenix Chain, Call of the Haunted, Solar Recharge, they'll go pretty well with our Raikou, right? Treeburn Frog, Lumina, Summoner Monk, Cyber Valley, Swap Frog, Beckoning Light, Gold Sark, King Tiger Wangu. Okay, now we're getting into the back of our pack. You know, the thing that everybody, when they open packs, they were so excited to see the cool card, right? And unfortunately, it's a little bit of a bummer because it's not holo. Cold Wave does not come holographic, unfortunately. But we start getting into the one-ofs, right? We start getting into the stuff that you want to go through the pack and see, like, what are the one-ofs here? What if I take this Cold Wave? There will not be another Cold Wave in the cube. So if I take this card, you know, it builds that excitement, right, of opening a pack and seeing, oh man, I got the LOB Blue Eyes White Dragon, like I got the Exodia piece, I got the card I can't wait to put on my deck and show my friend, right? So we start out with Cold Wave, right? You got the only Cold Wave. We got Chaos Emperor Dragon. It seems like a really good pack, and it's going to be very hard to choose on your first pack here. So Chaos Emperor Dragon. Something else that reminds me that's very important is that everything in the cube is the effects are, there's no erratas. So if Chaos Emperor on this says the original effect, that's the effect you're using. We're not doing normal, like, new Crush Card virus that's terrible. Like, if you get Crush Card, Burial from a Different Dimension, right, is next. So as you can see, right, the power level between these two cards, or even three cards so far, is not the same, right? But I tried to make it so that in the same vein as there are 5 and 6 of, right, of cards that work well with each other that should be in a lot of decks. Book of Moon, for example, is one that there's a lot of them because in multiple formats there were people running a ton of Book of Moon, so it wouldn't be fun if there was only 3 for 8 people to pick from. Burial from a Different Dimension is a card that, like, wasn't used in a lot of decks, and yeah, the decks that used it could use it really well, and it was really a sought-after card and limited, semi-limited, right, in the time that I played. But, is every deck vying for this one card? No, so we don't really need a ton of copies in it, right? Whereas, Raikou, any deck could run Raikou, right? And our final card here, Exchange of the Spirit, you can see the power level difference between our one-ofs in our pack, right? Exchange of the Spirit, like, imagine building, a 2009 Lightsworn build with multiple charges, recharges, Luminas, Honest, stuff like that, 3 Necro Gardenas, right? And you got this pack, and you're do I Cold Wave for Judgment Dragon? Do I take Exchange of the Spirit so that, like, late game I've milled half my deck, turn 1 I can either late game drop this and get all my deck back, or early on, with a bunch of charges and recharges, I can build a deck that I just kill my opponent very quickly with Exchange of the Spirit, right? So I think the pack opening experience, as you see, just from this one admittedly broken pack, kind of shows that, like, when you have something like this, right, you have something that, like, increases that experience, right? You're not just grabbing a pack of 20 cards, you're opening this up, seeing, okay, well, what's my skill card? Okay, and then going through the cards and seeing the 1-ofs, 2-ofs, 3-ofs, like, it just creates a super awesome cube experience for everyone involved. And it just makes it, that much closer to, the old Battle Pack days, or, when people would think about playing sealed draft, right? You play these, back before all of the archetypes, I don't want to say ruined the game, because obviously I love Edison format, but before they dominated the game, right? When, you would open a pack and it would just be, Regekis and Monster Reborns and MSTs, like anything that works together, as we got into, like, late GX and 5D's era, we got into this era of, well, I opened a pack with a bunch of Blackwing stuff in it, and I don't play Blackwing, so I kind of just have to stick it in bulk. And unfortunately, we've gotten to a time where, most of the pack opening experience is throwing stuff into bulk, flipping quickly to that hollow card, the secret rare, the whatever, and throwing the rest in the trash. Whereas, with this, as good as Chaos Emperor is, right, if this is my first pack, if I'm wanting frogs, I better take one of the Treeborns right away. So I think the pack opening experience is very important, and yeah. All right, well, that's my cube setup. Like I said, the list will be down below. I still can't pick between Exchange of the Spirit and Chaos Emperor Dragon, so I'll catch you guys out in the next video. Also, I totally forgot to mention there's a bigger version of the cube box for bigger cubes.